Jordan Reid from ESPN joins me here inside the TCO studios as we are less than 1 week away from the start of the 2022 NFL Draft. And Jordan, this is the time of the year when you look on social media, it's all smoky mirrors. You hear reports the Vikings are trading up to the first overall pick or they're trading back. But right now they still got the 12th overall pick. So what is the most logical move with that number 12 overall selection?
Yeah, Gabe, it's just trying to navigate that smoke right now. There's so many different things that you're hearing right now as far as what Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and then also what the scouting department could do. But what makes this draft so interesting is that we don't have any previous tendencies that Kwesi has had to go by. This is his first draft as a full-time general manager being in charge. But I think cornerback is a direction that they could go. They bought Patrick Peterson back. They have Cameron Dantzler in the building already entering his third season. But also another direction that they could go is edge rusher. I think they can add some more depth there, bringing over Zadarius Smith from the NFC North, rival in the Green Bay Packers. And then also Neil Hunter back this year was huge too. So there's so many different directions that they could go with this pick.
A lot of people are saying at this point, draft a wide receiver because who cares what the cornerback room looks like? We can just outscore every opponent. Do you think the Vikings did enough in free agency to go that route?
Yeah, I think so. And I think this is a possibility that you shouldn't rule out just because with Adam Thielen getting a little bit older, we know Justin Jefferson is a superstar. KJ Osborne took that next step in his development. They also have some young guys that they like too. Amir Smith-Marset came on strong last year, and then some other players in the room that they like too. But Jameson Williams, the wide receiver from Alabama, is a player that you shouldn't rule out. I think he could be one of the first wide receivers off the board. Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, and then also his counterpart and Chris Olave with the Buckeyes. There's so many talented wide receivers in this draft class. Kevin O'Connell loves to run that 11 personnel where we see 3 wide receivers on the field all the time. So there's some room for some more guys to get catches, take some of that load off of Justin Jefferson, and also you may have a succession plan for Adam Thielen.
So what would conservative versus aggressive be with the Vikings first round draft? Like the first round of the Vikings draft this year?
I think wide receiver would be really, really aggressive.
Okay.
Just because I think it proves that Kevin O'Connell is saying we're an offensive-minded team now, and we're going to make this thing a track meet. You already have your superstar in Justin Jefferson. You have Dalvin Cook in the backfield. You have your orchestrator and the leader of it all at the epicenter of everything, and Kirk Cousins, who's known to be a point guard, a distributor, to distribute to everybody. We have Adam Thielen coming back off of injury. And then you add an important piece with one of these first-round wide receivers. Now you have your 11 personnel to go along with Irv Smith, who's coming back off of injury.
Yeah, you speak of Irv Smith Jr., tight end position is a position of need for this Minnesota Vikings team. And I know day one is what everybody's talking about, but day 2 and day 3 is going to be where the money is made, where you find those gems. So do you have any players in mind that could be wearing purple and gold next year that fit this Vikings team that won't be announced on day 1?
Yeah, I mean, losing Tyler Conklin was a big loss for this offense, not only as a blocker, but also a receiving threat as well. Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina is definitely one to keep an eye on. I definitely think he could be a third-round target for the Vikings. Just his culmination and his totality of being able to combine everything as a receiving threat. He's also gritty as a blocker, too. He likes to mix things up when he's in line. So Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina is a name to keep an eye on. Another is Greg Dulcich from UCLA, another player that came on strong last year, more of a receiving type of tight end, which is what they could pair with Irv Smith Jr.
Man, you can't be saying Coastal Carolina too loudly, man. I went to Liberty. You know, that's a rival for us. But, I mean, anybody that makes plays will be great for this Minnesota Vikings team, whether that's a tight end or O-line, who I'm about to talk about next. But honestly, the curve when it comes to O-linemen has been proven over the years that it's a little bit tougher for a rookie interior offensive lineman that's drafted day 2 or day 3 to start immediately versus a guy that's a veteran. How do you balance that curve out when trying to address the interior O-line position for the Vikings?
Well, that's the tough part. And the Vikings have really taken both approaches as far as taking them early and then also waiting a little bit later. They really haven't had a lot of luck with interior guys over the past few years. Garrett Bradbury just hasn't worked out. I think they could look to bring some competition in for him. They've already addressed the guard spots via free agency. They bought in some really, really underrated veterans that I like. Jesse Davis, also Chris Reid, bringing him over from the Indianapolis Colts. You have a really nice mixture as far as competition that you can really solidify that right guard spot along with Oli Udoh, who I think could be in the mix to start potentially again. But that's why you bring in those veterans. I think it's a 3-man race as far as where they could go. You also have Wyatt Davis, a 3rd-round pick from a year ago. So There's so many mixtures of guys, but I think they're going to take another offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, I should say, probably in the mid to late rounds. There's plenty of guys that I would look to target. Donovan West from Arizona State is one name to keep an eye on, one of the younger prospects overall in this draft class. He plays center. He also plays guard, too. I think he could be had in the third round if that's where they want to go to address that interior spot.
Man, that would be great if the Vikings continue to build on that offensive lineman front. And, every year everyone says you just draft an offensive lineman just because of depth. You can never have too many. But one thing that we know of this Minnesota Vikings team is we need more pieces of the puzzle to be able to contend for the NFC North. How many pieces are we away from doing that?
I think they're right there, honestly, especially with this division. There's so many different ways that they could go with the Green Bay Packers really in the mix as far as always at the top of the NFC North. The Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions are still in that rebuild stage right now. And it's clear that Kevin O'Connell and then also Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, they see this as a team that can win right away just based off what their moves were this offseason. So I think they're right there as far as playoff contention, but I still think they have some moves that they need to bake to get in that next realm of being contenders like the LA Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and teams of that nature.
Yeah, competitive rebuild is a word tossed around, and another word that's going to be thrown around is the 12th overall pick with the Minnesota Vikings, what they'll select come next week. Jay Reid, appreciate your time today. Looking forward to your coverage. I know you're a busy man right now.
Thank you as always, Gabe.
Absolutely.